I didn't reply to Nico at that moment. Not because I wanted to stay silent, but because I genuinely didn't know what to say. We left the cafeteria together, but neither of us said another word about what had just happened. Nico didn't push. He didn't look at me like he was waiting for an answer. He just walked beside me like usual. And that made everything even more confusing. "You don't have to say anything right now," Nico said when we stopped in front of my dorm building. I looked at him. The light above the door cast a long shadow behind him. "I know," I answered. A moment of silence. "I don't want to make things weird," Nico continued. I let out a small laugh. "You literally just said you like me." "Yeah." "And you think that doesn't make things weird?" Nico shrugged. "It only gets weird if you decide to make it weird." I shook my head. "You really have a very unique way of seeing things." "It works," Nico said. I looked at him a little longer. "I need time," I said slowly. Nico nodded immediately. "I know. And I don't want you to." I paused, searching for the right words. "Hope too much." Nico smiled, but this time the smile felt lighter. "Quentin," he said, "I'm not stupid." I frowned. "I know what you've just been through," Nico went on. "And I know I can't just walk in and replace everything." Replace. The word echoed in my head. "I don't want to replace anyone," Nico said, as if he could read my mind. "I just want to be me." I swallowed. "And you?" Nico looked straight at me. "Should be you too." I nodded. I wasn't sure I fully understood, but it was enough to feel a little relieved. "Go to sleep," Nico said, taking a step back. "You look like you need it." "Do I always look like that?" "Only when you overthink." I smiled. "Good night, Nico." "Good night, Quentin." That night I couldn't sleep, not because I was sad, but because my head was too full. Images of Liam, the breakup text, old memories, and then Nico, the way he looked at me, the way he said, "I like you." No hesitation, no circling around it, just honest. I turned over in bed and pulled the blanket up to my chin. "What do I feel?" I asked myself, and the answer wasn't clear. I didn't hurt as much anymore when I thought about Liam, but I wasn't ready to let go completely either. And Nico, he wasn't Liam. He wasn't like anyone I'd ever known, and maybe that was exactly what scared me. The next morning I woke up late. There was a message on my phone. From Nico. "Don't overthink so much that you forget to eat breakfast." I stared at the words and couldn't help smiling. "You're not my boyfriend or anything. Why are you reminding me?" The reply came almost instantly. "Not yet." My heart skipped. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, then typed, "You're way too confident." Not confident, just patient. I didn't know how to respond. In the end, I just sent, "I'll eat breakfast." Good. The days that followed were different. Not dramatically, but different. Nico still texted me, still invited me to eat, to walk, or simply to sit together without needing to say much. But one thing had changed. I became more aware of the space between us. Not physical distance, emotional distance. Every time Nico lightly brushed my hand when handing me a cup of coffee, I noticed. Every time he stood a little too close, I noticed. Every time our eyes lingered longer than usual, I noticed, and it left me flustered. "You're avoiding me." Nico's voice came as we sat on the library steps. I frowned. "I'm not." "You are," Nico said, not looking at me. "You're doing it." I sighed. "I'm just thinking." Again. "Yeah." Nico smiled faintly. "You're going to kill yourself with overthinking." "I'm trying not to hurt you." That made Nico turn to look at me. "You think avoiding me will help?" "I don't know," I admitted. Nico stayed quiet for a moment. Then he spoke slower. Quentin, you can't control everything. I'm not trying to. You are, Nico cut in. You're trying to control your feelings, my feelings, and the outcome of all this. I clenched my fists. So what should I do? Nico looked at me, his eyes softening a little. Just let it happen. I'm not good at that. I know. A pause. But you can learn. I gave a weak smile. And what if I mess up? Then we fix it. Nico shrugged. I looked at him. You always make everything sound so simple. No. Nico shook his head. I just don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. I let out a long breath. You really like me? I asked suddenly. Nico didn't hesitate. Yeah. Even when I'm like this? Yeah. Even if I might never feel the same? Nico paused for a second. But then he still answered. Yeah. My heart tightened. You're crazy, I whispered. Maybe, Nico smiled softly. But I'm okay with that. I didn't know what to say. I only knew that, little by little, he was getting closer to me, and I wasn't so sure I wanted to keep the distance anymore. I started getting used to having Nico around. Too used to it. Morning texts, evening walks, the way he'd show up outside the library just to drag me out for some fresh air. And then, one day he didn't text. I woke up and checked my phone. Nothing. No message. No notification. I frowned but told myself it was normal. Nico had his own life. I went to class. Sat there trying to focus. The phone stayed silent. I checked again. Still nothing. A strange unease started creeping in. Not huge, but enough for me to notice. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I texted first. You dead or something? No reply right away. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 20 minutes. I tossed my phone onto the desk, irritated for no good reason. What the hell? The reply came while I was walking back to the dorm. Training. Short. Nothing else. I stopped in the middle of the hallway. That's it? Oh, I replied. No response. I stood there a few more seconds, then slipped the phone back into my pocket. A strange emptiness spread through my chest. That night, Nico still didn't text anything more. I told myself it didn't matter. We weren't anything. No obligation to text every day. No right to demand anything. But I still checked my phone before bed. Still hoped for a message. There wasn't one. The next day, things stayed the same. Nico texted, but less. Shorter. No more random questions or familiar teasing. Just training done. Eating now. Match tomorrow. I read every message and felt like something was slipping away from me. You okay? I looked up. Nico was standing in front of me, sweat still on his forehead, practice jersey damp. We were at the soccer field. I'd come to watch his match. Yeah, I answered, a little too quickly. I'm fine. Nico frowned. You don't look fine. I'm just tired. Or are you mad at me? The question hit the mark. I'm not mad, I said. You sure? I looked at him, then sighed. You've been busy, I said. I get it. Nico stayed quiet for a few seconds. But? I smiled weakly. There's no but. Nico didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. Quentin, Nico said, his voice dropping. Be honest. I clenched my hand. I stopped. I just got used to you being there. Nico didn't say anything. I know that sounds really bad, I continued. But. No, Nico cut in. It doesn't sound bad. I looked at him surprised. Really? Yeah, Nico nodded. It means I matter to you. My heart skipped. But, Nico continued, it can also become a problem. I frowned. What problem? Nico looked straight at me. If you start needing me. I froze. I'm not. You are, Nico said gently, and I'm not sure that's good for you. An uncomfortable feeling rose inside me. So what do you want me to do? I asked, my voice sharper. Pretend you don't matter? No. Nico shook his head. I want you to be okay even when I'm not around. It sounds like you're pushing me away. No, Nico said. I'm trying not to let you depend on me. And what if I want to? I asked, almost challenging him. Nico paused. Just for a second, but I saw it. Quentin, he breathed out. You don't know what you're saying. I do, I shot back. I know what I feel. Are you sure? Nico asked, his voice low. I opened my mouth, then stopped, because I wasn't sure. And Nico saw that. There, he said softly. You're still looking for the answer. I turned away, annoyed. I hate it when you're always right. Trust me, Nico smiled faintly. I hate it too. A silence. Not comfortable. I have a match tomorrow, Nico said, his voice returning to normal. You coming? I hesitated. Part of me wanted to say no, to keep distance, to prove I didn't need him, but the other part was stronger. Yeah, I said. Nico nodded. Good. He turned to leave the field. Nico, I called. He stopped and looked back. Yeah. I looked at him, heart racing. I don't want you to disappear. Nico stayed quiet. Then he smiled very softly. I'm not going anywhere. He said it, but for some reason, for the first time, I didn't completely believe it. I arrived at Nico's match earlier than necessary. The stands were still mostly empty, only a few teammates warming up. The sound of cleats on grass echoed in the cool afternoon air. I sat in the highest row. From here I could see the whole field, and I was far enough that I wouldn't have to face Nico right away. I wasn't sure I was ready for that yet. You're early. I startled. Nico was standing right below the stands, looking up at me. Dark practice jersey, hair slightly damp, that familiar calm gaze still, steady as always. Yeah, I answered, standing up. I had nothing else to do. Nico's lips curved. Or you just wanted to make sure you got a good seat? Maybe, I said, walking down. We stood facing each other, only a small distance between us, closer than I expected. You look better than yesterday, Nico said. I'm fine. Yeah, Nico nodded lightly. I know. A silence. Not uncomfortable, but not completely easy like before. I'm playing, Nico said, stepping back a little. Don't fall asleep. I'll try. Nico smiled faintly, then turned and left. The match started. The whistle blew, followed by the fast, chaotic movement of both teams. I'm not really into sports, but this time, I couldn't look away. Not because of the match, because of Nico. He moved faster than I remembered. Stronger, more focused. Gone was the usual laid-back, lazy vibe. On the field, Nico was someone else. Sharp, decisive, almost untouchable. And I realized I had never seen him like this before. Second half. The score was tied. The atmosphere grew tense. Cheers got louder. I leaned forward, gripping the railing without realizing it. Nico received the ball. Quick move. A shot. The ball flew straight into the net. The crowd erupted. I shot to my feet. Without thinking. Without hesitation. I was simply happy. For him. After the match, I waited near the team exit. Players came out one by one, laughing and talking loudly. Then, Nico appeared. His eyes scanned the crowd and stopped on me. A smile. Light, but real. He walked straight toward me. You saw that? Nico asked, still breathing hard. Yeah, I said. You weren't lying. I rarely do. I smiled. You played really well. Thanks, Nico replied, looking at me a little longer. You came. Yeah. A silence. But this time, it wasn't awkward. It was just peaceful. Want to grab food? Nico asked. I hesitated, just for a second. But he noticed. It's okay if you don't want to, Nico added. I want to, I said quickly. Quicker than I expected. Nico's lips curved. Good. We walked out of the stadium, the lights fading behind us. Neither of us spoke for the first few minutes. But this time the silence didn't make me anxious. Felt different, like something between us had just been reset. Not completely like before, but no longer as tense as yesterday. I've been thinking about what you said. I spoke up. Nico glanced at me. About what? About me? Possibly depending on you. Nico didn't reply right away. He just waited. I don't want that, I continued. But I also don't want to pretend you don't matter. Nico nodded lightly. Fair. I don't know how to balance it, I admitted. No one does at the start, Nico said. I looked at him. So how do you know? Nico smiled faintly. By messing up a few times. I laughed. Sounds believable. Very believable, Nico shrugged. We turned onto the quiet path leading away from the sports area. The space grew calmer. Only the sound of our footsteps and breathing. Nico, I called. Yeah. I stopped. He stopped too. I looked straight at him. Heart racing. I don't know if I'm ready yet, I said. Nico didn't interrupt. But I know. I don't want to lose you, I continued. Nico's eyes softened. I don't want to lose you either, he replied. Close. Too close. I can't promise anything, I said, voice low. I don't need you to promise, Nico said. I swallowed. But I took one small step closer. Just one. Maybe I can try. Nico looked at me. He didn't speak. Didn't move. Just waited. And this time, I didn't think. I didn't analyze. I didn't wonder if I was doing the right thing. I just took one more step and kissed him. It wasn't like what I had imagined. Not perfect. Not planned. It was just real. Nico's lips were warm. His breath caught for a second. Then he kissed me back. Not rushed. Not demanding. Just enough. When we pulled apart, I was still standing very close. Too close to pretend nothing had happened. What did I just do? I whispered. Nico chuckled softly. One step, he said. I looked at him. My heart still hadn't settled. You okay? I asked. Nico nodded. Yeah. A pause. Then he added. You. I didn't answer right away. I only knew that. For the first time since Liam left, I hadn't thought about him at all. Couldn't sleep that night. But this time, it wasn't because of pain. It was because I couldn't stop replaying that moment. The kiss. The way Nico paused for a beat, then kissed me back. No rush. No taking. Just being there. With me. I lay on my back, eyes wide open staring at the ceiling. My phone was right beside me. No message. I didn't know what I was waiting for. A question? A tease? Something like, you kissed terribly? Anything. But there was nothing. And that made me more nervous than I wanted to admit. The next morning, a message arrived. From Nico. You still alive? I laughed. The familiar line. But this time, it meant something different. I think so. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Good. I stared at the screen. That's it? Just good, I texted back. A short wait. Then, what do you want me to say? I frowned. I didn't know. I don't know, I typed. It's just about yesterday. The message stopped. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, if you regret it, we can pretend it never happened. My heart stopped. What? I didn't say I regret it. I replied faster than I meant to. A pause. Then good. I stared hard at the screen. An uncomfortable feeling rose. You have nothing else to say? This time Nico took longer to reply. Quentin, I don't want to force you to feel something just because of one kiss. I gripped the phone tighter. I wasn't forced. I know. Then why are you saying that? A longer silence. Then, because I don't want to become someone you'll regret getting close to. I let out a breath heavier than I intended. He was doing it again, pulling back, creating distance, right when I had just stepped forward. That afternoon, I went looking for Nico. No text, no call. I went straight to the practice field. He was there, running as usual. I stood at the edge of the field and waited. Until he saw me. Nico slowed down, then stopped in front of me. You okay? He asked, still breathing fast. No, I said directly. Nico frowned. What's wrong? Why do you do that? I asked. Do what? Every time I move closer, you step back. Nico stayed silent. I'm not. You are. I cut in. You do it. The wind blew between us. The air felt colder than usual. Quentin, Nico said slowly, I'm just trying to protect me. I smiled bitterly. Or protect yourself? The question made Nico pause, just for a second, but I saw it. I don't want to hurt you, he said. I don't want to either, I replied. But that doesn't mean we have to pretend nothing happened. Nico looked at me. His eyes were more complicated than I had ever seen. You don't understand, Nico said. Then explain. A silence. Nico took a breath. Last time, he began, voice low. I was the one who left. I didn't say anything. I thought I was doing the right thing, Nico continued. I thought, if I cut it off quickly, the other person would hurt less. My heart tightened, just like Nico. But I was wrong, he said, and I don't want to repeat that with you. I stepped closer. So you think keeping distance will help? Nico didn't answer. I'm not that person, I said. I know. Then stop treating me like I am. The words fell between us, heavy and clear. Nico looked at me for a long moment, then breathed out. What do you want, Quentin? That question I had asked myself for so many days, and for the first time, I had an answer. I want to try, I said. Try what? I want to see where this can go. Nico stayed quiet. I'm not promising anything, I added. I'm not sure I won't mess up. I'm not sure I've completely let go of the past. I looked straight at him. But I'm sure of one thing. Nico waited. I don't regret kissing you. A silence. Long, but not heavy. Nico stepped closer. Just a little. You sure? He asked, voice low. Yeah. Even if things might get complicated? I smiled softly. It's already complicated. Nico let out a quiet laugh. The first one in this conversation. And then, he nodded. Okay, Nico said. Then let's try. My heart beat harder. Try, I repeated, not as a question, but as confirmation. And this time, when Nico stepped closer, I didn't step back. Try. The word sounded simple, light, but once it existed between us, everything started to change. There was no official "we're dating" moment, no announcement, no clear rules, just Nico started appearing more, and I stopped trying to keep distance. We ate together almost every day, not always in noisy places, sometimes just a quiet corner in the library, each with a cup of coffee, sometimes on the steps in front of the dorm sharing takeout, and sometimes just walking, no destination, no plan, but always together. You're smiling to yourself. I startled and looked up from my book. Nico was watching me, chin resting on his hand, eyes carrying that familiar teasing look. I'm not smiling, I denied. You are, Nico said. And I want to know why. I was thinking about a passage in the book. Yeah, Nico smirked. Sure you were. I glared at him. Do you always think everything is about you? Not always, Nico replied. But this time it is. I laughed. You really can't stand not being the center of everything, can you? No, Nico tilted his head. I just like being the center of you. The sentence. So simple, but it made my heart skip. Too confident, I muttered. But you're not denying it, Nico said softly. I turned away, trying to hide my smile. Moments like that, small, but they added up. And slowly, I realized I was changing. I no longer checked my phone every morning with that empty feeling. I no longer walked past old places and felt pain. I no longer thought of Liam every time there was silence. Not because I forgot, but because something new was filling those empty spaces. But then, things couldn't stay that simple forever. I ran into Liam again. It wasn't a dramatic moment. No soundtrack. No special lighting. It was just, I was leaving class, and he was standing in the hallway. My heart stopped. Literally. Everything around me blurred. Only him. Liam. Still the same. Brown hair, slightly messy. The eyes I once thought I understood. And now, I wasn't sure anymore. Quentin. His voice. Still familiar. Too familiar. I didn't answer right away. I just stood there, looking. You, okay? Liam asked. I let out a short laugh. You're really asking me that? Liam paused. After disappearing? I cut in. After one text? The air between us became heavy instantly. I'm sorry, Liam said. Those two words should have meant something, should have made me feel something, but it wasn't what I expected. Why? I asked. Because I hurt you. No. I shook my head. Why did you do it? Liam stayed silent. Like before. Like always. I don't know, he finally said. I smiled bitterly. Of course you don't. Quentin. I waited for an answer, I said, voice lower. But you never gave me one. Liam looked at me, eyes filled with regret. I thought, if I said less, it would hurt you less. My heart tightened. Exactly like Nico. I was wrong, Liam added. I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't feel the same pain as before. I just felt distant. Yeah, I said. You were wrong. A silence. Are you seeing someone? Liam asked carefully. The question I didn't expect, but I knew the answer. I thought of Nico, the way he smiled, the way he looked at me, the way he stayed. Yeah, I said. Liam paused. Oh. A forced smile. Good, he said. I'm happy for you. I nodded. Thanks. We stood there a few more seconds. Nothing left to say. Nothing left to hold on to. Bye, Liam, I said. Bye, Quentin. I turned and walked away, without looking back. But when I turned the corner of the hallway, I saw Nico. He was standing there, not too close, not too far. His eyes found me immediately. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, Nico said. I know, I replied. A silence. You okay? Nico asked. The familiar question, but this time, the answer was different. Yeah, I said, and I realized I really was okay. Not pretending, but truly. Nico stepped closer. Want to go somewhere? He asked. I looked at him, then smiled. Yeah. And this time, I didn't wonder if he was just a replacement, because I already knew the answer. No, he had never been a replacement, and he didn't need to be. We didn't talk much as we left the building, not because there was nothing to say, but because we didn't need to. Sometimes silence between two people isn't emptiness. It's fullness. You're not going to ask anything? I spoke up when we stepped outside, cold air filling my lungs. Nico tucked his hands into his pockets and slowed his pace to match mine. Ask what? About Liam, I said. Nico glanced at me. You want me to ask? I thought for a moment, then shook my head. No, then I won't, Nico replied simply. I smiled softly. You're always like this. Like what? Not forcing me to talk about things I'm not ready for. Nico shrugged. I just learned from my mistakes. I looked at him. You're not the same as before. I hope not, Nico smiled faintly. We turned onto the familiar path around campus. Golden lights spread evenly along the walkway. Dry leaves crunched under our feet. But, Nico said after a while, I do have one question. Yeah. He stopped. I stopped too. You really okay? I looked at Nico. This time I didn't need time to think. Yeah, I said. No hesitation. No uncertainty. Just certainty. I'm okay. Nico watched me for a few seconds, as if checking if I was telling the truth. Then he nodded. Good. A silence. I thought I would feel different, I said. Different how? I thought seeing him again would bring everything back. But it didn't. No, I shook my head. It's not the same anymore. I looked down at the path. Before, I always thought I needed an answer from him to move on. Nico stayed quiet, just listened. But today, I breathed out softly. I realized I don't need it anymore. I looked up at Nico, because I already moved on. Nico's eyes softened. Yeah, he said quietly. You already moved on. We kept walking. This time, the space between us was a little smaller. Not on purpose. Just natural. Nico, I called. Yeah. I stopped. He turned to look at me. I think, I get it now. Get what? I spoke slowly. Why you didn't want to be a replacement. Nico stayed silent, waiting for me to continue. Because if you were a replacement, I said carefully, that would mean you could be replaced too. A silence. Nico looked at me, his eyes deeper. Yeah, he said. That's part of it. I stepped closer. But you're not, I said. My heart pounded. Not to me. Nico didn't say anything, but I saw. The way his eyes changed. Slightly, but clearly. I don't know where this is going, I continued. No one does, Nico replied. I might still mess up. Definitely. I might still hurt you. Nico breathed out. Maybe. I swallowed. But. I looked straight at him. This time, I don't want to run. A silence. Long, but not heavy. Nico stepped closer. Very close. Then don't run, he said softly. I smiled lightly. Sounds too easy. It's not. Nico shook his head. But it's worth it. I looked at him for a few seconds. Then, I took Nico's hand. Not an accidental touch. Not brief, but holding on. Fingers intertwined. Warm, steady, real. Nico paused for a moment, then gently squeezed my hand back. No words. No need for words. We stood there for a while, under the lights, in the almost empty campus. No one watching, no one caring, just us. I don't want to be a replacement, I said quietly. You're not, Nico replied. I want to be your choice. Nico looked at me. His eyes softened. You are, he said. My heart beat faster. And you're mine. This time when we kissed, there was no hesitation, no questions, no past slipping in, only the present, only us. I used to think love came only once, and if it broke, everything broke with it. But I was wrong. Love isn't one person. It isn't one moment. It isn't something that can be replaced or be a replacement. It is what you choose to keep and what you choose to begin again. And this time, I chose Nico, not because he came after, but because he stayed.